should try and like fix the angle of my camera so that I'm not like, I don't know. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know. The next book is one that I didn't really like called Blood and Bane by C.J. McKee. And it's the first in the Dragon's Age Chronicles, and it came out in 2018. And its genre is epic fantasy. And I don't. So there's like a king who's like kind of terrible, and he's like ruining nature, and he thinks that he rules nature because nature is personified as a woman, so why doesn't he have the right to rule it? That whole patriarchal thing. And then like um there are also dragons in this world, but they're like tied to the land, so if the land keeps being harmed by the humans, then the dragons are going to disappear. And there's a wizard who has apprentices that he's supposed to like train, and eh um if you buy the Kindle version of this book, it's formatted a little bit weird. Like, I don't know where chapter 3 starts because it goes from 2, then it seems like there's a really long chapter, and then there's chapter 4. So that was weird. Eh, it wasn't really that good. Like, I think books that have like this much setup but are also this long are kind of difficult because now we're entering like the 290, 300, 320 page range, and I need those books to just like jump right in. So yeah, I didn't like that one very much. Uh, I think in the last video I do of these books, I'm probably gonna have to read out the list of books because I don't remember what's the last video where I said what the list of books were. So I'm probably just gonna do that. Um, The next book is a book that I read when I was little, but for some reason when I was little, it took me like 3 times reading the beginning in order to get through the entire book. It's called Fairest by Gail Carson Levine, and it came out in 2006. Unlike Garden of Eve, I didn't really remember a lot of what happened in this book. I knew that there was like a magic mirror and a girl who felt like she was ugly, but then like uh, decided that she was handsome. So, yeah. There's a girl named Aza. She was abandoned as a baby at an inn. She can sing very well, but she's not very nice to look at. The guests where she lives are mostly rude. She does chores that will keep her hidden. The gnomes are generally nice. There's a gnome named Zam, and he says that they're going to meet again in the gnome caverns when she's in danger, and that her hair is pretty because it's a color that like gnomes have a name for, but we would just call black. But for like gnomes, it's a really pretty color. So that's cool. Aza learns how to throw her voice. They call it illusing because it's like an illusion. And then the king comes, and the king marries a foreigner, and she's invited to the wedding. So she goes to the wedding, and the foreign lady, she can't sing very well. She sees Aza and decides that, you know what, we could be friends. It's later, I don't think it's ever like directly said, but it's later realized that the reason she became friends with Aza, friends, is because Aza is not nice to look at, and the queen wants to be the only thing that's nice to look at. Queen's name is Ivy. There's some other dramatic antics. The king spends most of the time in his time in this book hurt and out of action. So, yeah, and like, uh, but yeah, the king gets hurt and his pulse is weak. Ivy is kind of a terrible person. She wants Aza's voice, so she has Aza start like loosing for her, and other people also can't do it. And yeah, that's weird. My eye is very red. That's odd, but it wasn't red earlier. And Ivy also doesn't really like the king. She actually wants to be with the prince. The prince wants to be with Aza, but like Aza's like, so yeah. Ivy also hurts anybody that's prettier than her and jails all those who mock her. So that's the great makings of a queen, don't you think? And so they end up arresting Aza because Ivy told them to. She like frames her for something, and the prince, who up to this point has been like siding with Aza, um, like decides to side with Ivy, and she's able to get out of prison, and she goes to the gnome caverns, and she likes being there with them, and it's discovered at this point that she's probably half gnome, um, because of her hair color, and also I think also the fact that she could get into the caverns in the first place, and unless you're a gnome, you're not supposed to be able to get in there. And Ivy is also a gnome. She was given a mirror that's got like a demon in it that makes her really, really pretty, and he's trying to use her to escape or something like that. Ozza ends up trapped in the mirror as well, and there was like a potion thingy that the queen was using to make herself pretty, and Ozza found it, and she drank some of it, and she was pretty, and she was like, "What?" And she gets Ivy to break the mirror, and Ivy isn't very pretty right now, and she's like distraught by that. She was distraught. And uh, Ivy like decides that she's not pretty anymore, so she doesn't want to see anybody. Oz is able to convince her that she's still pretty, like in her own way. So, uh, Ivy is sent away by the king to live in her homeland because and the prince does marry Ozza, and they have kids, and like the the prince thinks that Ozza's pretty, but she thinks that she's just handsome, and yeah, quintessential child literature. It's very cute. The message, though, like the beauty part, that's what you want kids to absorb, so that's nice. Um, oh, I really didn't like a whole lot of these. So the next book, which you'll find under two names, it's either Gatekeeper's Son or Thanatos from the Underworld series by Eva Poehler. I like Persephone or the Gatekeeper's Bride. I didn't really care for this book. There's a girl named Teresa Mills. She's the protagonist. She's doing some shit with her parents, and then they leave and they get hit by a car, and Teresa's parents die, but she's like teetering on like death and alive. And Thanatos and his brother Hypnos, yeah, Hypnos, they like find her. Thanatos decides that he likes her. She also likes him, but like, what? I don't really care for love at first sight in books. I know it happens in real life. I don't care for it because it's so rare. Like, how often does that happen? And yeah, Thanatos like sends the Furies to help Teresa find her parents' murderer because like they were targeted, and he makes a deal with Hades, who's his dad, to get Teresa's heart in 40 days. No reason. Um, like I don't understand the 40 days thing, and I don't care for this book. I don't care who killed her parents. I don't care about the romance. I don't care. I got 100 pages in, and I like more mythology in my mythology book, and there's not a whole lot of magic. Her parents' death doesn't feel significant because we only knew them for like 2 seconds. Like, it's significant to her, but that's it. And then, like, when she finds out that Thanatos is like the god of death and she can only be around him if she's dead, she like wants to die. And I'm just like, what is this, Twilight? And I don't. I know that like love is really important for teenagers because they don't really know what love is yet. But like, the idea that this 15-year-old who has their entire life in front of them would want to die for someone that they've known for like a year is bonkers to me. I get that it happened, and I know that it's always tragic when it does, and I'm not victim blaming. It's just how do you make that connection in your head? That's what I don't understand. Like, how do you go from I love my life and I love this boy or girl or whomever to be in order for us to be together, we both have to die. I just don't understand where that jump comes from. That's all. Like, not victim blaming. It's always really terrible when that shit happens, but like, I'm not understanding where the disconnect comes from, where the connection is, because like, I've been 15. I've had a boyfriend when I was 15. No. Like, I feel like if I read this book before I read Persephone, I probably never would have read Persephone. Also, I don't understand why it was called the Gatekeepers anything, because it's not about Hades. It's about Thanatos' relationship with Teresa. I don't know. Like, meh. Um, Yeah. Okay. Subscribe.